being alone. It's something that people judge. If you're being alone a lot, you're easily called a freak or someone who is socially awkward, someone who doesn't really engage in conversation, someone who is introverted and shy, possibly. I think that's one of the sad developments in our society. We don't really value people who spend a lot of time alone. We easily judge, and it's understandable. We are social beings, and as soon as someone is a little less engaged in such activities, as soon as someone stays more to themselves and is a little closed off, we tend to get scared because it's something we don't know. But what is actually weird, in my opinion, is how many people find it impossible to be alone. How many people constantly have to be entertained in some sense because they're trying to escape themselves. I just want you to quickly imagine a scenario. You're sitting in a subway and the people around you, what are they doing? They are all on their phones. Some of them will be listening to music, some of them will be texting, some of them will be calling others. But let me tell you, I did this a bunch of times, and every time I looked, there was, I think, at most one person who didn't look at their phone in the subway. Now you might think, well, okay, the smartphone is a new invention. It's very practical. It's something we use to be productive, to be social, and it's fine. But I don't think it's fine. The thing is, the people don't only use their phone in the subway. They use it on their way to work. Then at work, they talk to others, they're engaging with their coworkers, and they're, interacting with clients, whatever. And then we go back home, and when we're driving home, we're also listening to music through our headphones. And then we come home and there's a family. And when are we being alone? Exactly. When are we being alone? When is there time for us to think about ourselves and to think about our own thoughts? I don't think there really is. And I'm not saying this because I feel like I'm better than other people and I look at society and I'm like, oh my God, they're all addicted to entertainment and they can't face themselves. It's because I've been there as well. I've spent days where the only time that I had on my own was lying in my bed. And even when I was lying in my bed, I tried to escape from the thoughts that were nagging inside my brain. Because this is what happens. When you constantly block out your own thoughts, and don't tell me that you don't have those thoughts and you're not blocking out anything, everyone has something to block out. Our mind is a really smart place. We know pretty much exactly what is going wrong and what is going right in our lives. But in order for us to know that, we need to listen. And instead of listening to our own mind for this advice, we try and search it in places where it's not to be found. Usually we're trying to search for advice for others. And I know that you're watching this video because you're probably seeking advice from me. But what I'm trying to tell you is that all the answers that you're searching for are most probably inside your own mind. Unfortunately, in our society, it is very accepted to block out these thoughts. It's not only accepted, but it's expected. So as soon as you do something else, as soon as you are not using your phone in the subway, as soon as you are planning to spend hours by your own, you can come off as a little bit weird. But let me tell you, the time you spend on your own is the most important time of the day. It is hard to face yourself at first. It was hard for me. I wasn't even able to walk somewhere without headphones in my ears because I was so desperately trying to run from my thoughts. I was not living life the right way. I went through a period of depression and I went through trauma and a lot of pain, and I just felt like I couldn't deal with it, so I had to block it out. And it was just so handy, you know, a phone, people, uni, that's all I needed in order to block out what was really important. But in the end, what you keep blocking out, it comes to haunt you because you can't always run. When you're lying on your own in your bed, yes, you can listen to some kind of podcast until you fall asleep, and then immediately when you wake up, you can listen to the next thing, but eventually those thoughts will come to haunt you because they're in your mind, and your mind is with you at all times. I think that's also the reason why we're so scared of like our phones dying. Of course, we're also addicted to media and addicted to news, and our body's like used to sending out stress hormones and always being updated. But what we're also addicted to is always having a way to cancel out thoughts in our own mind. And I think we know very well that when our phone dies, the number one tool to distract us is gone. And I think that's why we're panicking a lot, because a lot of the times, okay, maybe you can't text your friend back for an hour or two when your phone dies, but is that really that tragic? And do you really need to read the news in those 2 hours, or to watch the news, or to watch whatever, some show, or to listen to some podcast? No, you don't. But what you do need, what your mind needs, is that distraction. And when your phone dies, the number one distraction tool is destroyed for 2 hours. So I know this paints a pretty dark picture of us as a society. But what I find really important is to highlight that as soon as you start to make a few small changes, things can improve like magic. I experienced it myself. It's really hard to face yourself at first. It's something we're scared of, the silence inside our own thoughts. It's looking into the abyss, basically. All those things that you've been pushing away for a long time will eventually come up. And for me, it was the case. I suddenly started getting flashbacks of memories that I thought I had forgotten. But when I chose to give up this constant blocking out of myself, of my own thoughts, that's what happened. It's going to be painful because you're going to have to face your demons. But at the other end of all this facing and being in the dark room all by yourself is light. There's a version inside of you trapped inside of you who is happier, more in connection with yourself, more in connection to others as well. Because that's what I think is probably the most odd. We look at people who spend a lot of time alone and think that they're not very social and that they just are not socially successful. But what I've come to experience is that the more time I spend by myself and the more time I spend with my own thoughts and working on myself, the more I can actually connect with people. When I choose to spend time with people, I'm present and I'm there and I'm able to give them the best version of myself. And isn't that what we want? Imagine you're constantly blocking out your own thoughts. You're not working through your bag of trauma, basically, because we all have that bag. For some people it's lighter and for some people it's heavier, but we all have a whole set of things that we should work through and that we choose not to work through because it's difficult. And imagine never working through those things and then going into conversations and going into relationships, and those traumas are not gone. Those things will come up eventually, and you won't realize that that argument you're having is related to some kind of trauma you're pushing away, but it is. It most probably is. So, what I'm telling you to do right now is to turn off the device you're watching this video on. Of course, after I finish. You're going to turn it off and you're going to try to sit by yourself. At first, it's going to feel uncomfortable. For the first 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, you're probably going to feel very weird, and the silence in your head is going to feel like it's expanding, and it's a really odd sensation and scary. But after a while, you'll find a space and a place that is more peaceful than anything else. Then I want you to start implementing these 10 minutes inside your daily life. When you walk to some kind of meeting, or when you go to school, to uni, to work, don't put in the headphones. Don't. Just walk. Walk and listen to your mind. Listen to what it has to say. And as time passes, you'll become more comfortable with this. But what is really important is to really go cold. Stop. Leave your headphones at home. Limit your phone time. Don't use your phone in the subway. Look at yourself as a friend. Wouldn't it be so cruel to imagine that wherever you're going, you're ignoring that friend? When you're in the subway, you're looking at your phone instead of talking and listening to them. When you're walking somewhere, they're walking next to you, but you're blocking them out. Imagine yourself as your best friend. It's such a stupid saying, has been repeated over and over again, but it's the truth. You're the only constant thing in your life. Start listening to yourself. And I promise you, magic will happen. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that we'll see each other in another video. I have a lot of things to talk about, not just being on your own, but healing, becoming the best version of yourself, dealing with trauma, dealing with friendships, dealing with relationships. It's all things that I'm really interested in, and I'd really love to share my views on those topics. I wish you a wonderful day, and I hope that afterwards you'll spend some time on your own.